This is Dr. Catherine Collins. I don't know if anyone will ever hear this. It's all over. I'm the only one left.
Hello everyone, we are Group 1 and we will be discussing about the game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So let's start by looking at the roles which are assigned to the group mates. So these are the roles assigned to the different group mates, starting from the game designer, level designer, sound designer, producer, and game programmer. I'm Varsha Batul and I'm the game designer, so I'll be discussing about the design of the game. So who is a game designer? Game designers are often in charge of the scenery, environment, special effects, lighting, and anything else relevant to the game's design. They bring the game to life by making the characters and surroundings more appealing and entertaining. Other than that, game artists can work in a range of fields based on their experience in drawing, computer animation, scene design, and color theory. Dan Pinchback was the creator of the game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. He is a writer and designer in addition to being the creative director of the studio. He wants the gamers to have an experience in which the player can piece together the entire plot based on their preferences. The game's mechanic and structure offer players an overwhelming emotional feeling. The open world aspect of the game means they're free to roam the map and encounter fragments of history as they come across them. Some of the road leads in circle, while others entirely circle the map. This means that it can easily overlook certain areas and thus miss out on plot scenes. The story structure is rhizomatic rather than linear, which means there is no clear starting or end point, nor is there a single path between locations. The genre of the game is adventure, casual, and unique. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is also famous for its breathtaking scenery. The game takes place in English village of Yachton in Shropshire, and for those wondering if Yachton is a real location, it isn't. However, the concept comes from a village called Yachton. On the right side, you can see a picture of that Yachton village, and you can see the resemblance between these two. The game takes place in 1984 in the fictional village of Yachton in Shropshire, as I said before. The game is divided into chapters, centered on the lives of Jeremy, Wendy, Frank, Lizzie, Stephen, and Kate, some of the past inhabitants. The player's task is to find out what happened to everyone in the village. A mysterious floating orb of light floats through the air, leading the player to a scene composed of other human-shaped lights, reenacting previous events, following a path of orbs through the valley, and discovering phones and radios that play conversations, recordings, and broadcasts leads to the main event of the game, Rapture. There's actually no option to choose your character or customize it. That's the beautiful part of the game, is that it's similar to reading stories and visualizing how your character would appear. It gives the player that personal space within which he can build his own character any way he wants, which psychologically bonds you to the character. In the next slide, you can see some of the pictures of the game, which perfectly describes the scenery of the game, and as I said before, the setting was influenced by Yachton, a village in Shropshire. It's very impressive how the game has accurately depicted the varied places and how they have focused on every minute detail, like shadows, lightning, and color patterns.
Hi, this is Amina and I will be discussing about the level designing of this game. The game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is classified as an adventure 3D and FPP genre. The game is developed by the Chinese room where Andrew Prosher is the lead designer. My role in this presentation is level designer, where I will be explaining the designs and environments of this game. So what does a level designer do? Level designers are basically the designers of the levels. They take game designer specifications and develop the game's actions, events, objects, obstacles, and environment in great detail. They also design the characters and their actions in the game. This is a game where you wander around the village and listen to the characters' stories in an attempt to piece a story together through the audio logs of what happened to them in their final moments before getting raptured. You will be given a fairly scientific explanation of what's going on in between. The game is divided into 6 chapters. The story and the character interactions are shown by a human-shaped swirling orb of light. These orbs of light play out in a manner similar to recorded conversations, but out of time and self-contained. A floating ball of light will occasionally guide you in the game, although most are optional. Some will activate automatically when you reach a specific point. If you see a light hovering in a place, it indicates that you may activate it manually by tilting controller to make the light move left or right until it reaches the proper position. This glowing ball of light, which wordlessly conveys the character's personality, will lead you through each chapter. This game tells us two complicated interwoven stories. First, there's the story of people who lived in Shropshire's fictional Youngton Valley in 1980s. Second is the story of the apocalyptic event that caused them to go into Rapture. The game does not display the characters' faces. We can only imagine the characters by listening to the narratives through the swirling lights. So the characters are Stephen Appleton and his wife Dr. Catherine Collins, two scientists who are the important figures in the Rapture. The mother of Stephen, Wendy Wells, is a strong-willed widow who controls affairs in the Youngton Valley. Her brother Frank Appleton, who lost his wife Mary to a terminal illness, still grieves for her. The local parishioner Father Jeremy Wheeler is going through a crisis of faith in the game. Lizzie Graves is the manager of Lakeside Holiday Camp in the northeastern portion of the valley. When she and Stephen were engaged, he broke off their engagement and traveled to America, where he later met Kate, fell in love with her, and then married her. Everything started when Stephen and Kate noticed a pattern in a star during a celestial event, and then they amplified it with telescopes at Vallis Observatory. As a result, they produced a type of intelligent light energy known as the pattern, which began to spread rapidly throughout the valley. This pattern soon adjusts to spread quicker and further, infecting and finally consuming any human who comes into contact with it. All the residents of Shropshire's country vanished in the early morning of June 6, 1984. In this game, it is our task to figure out how everyone died. There are 6 chapters in the game named after the characters Jeremy, Wendy, Frank, Lizzie, Stephen, and Kate. This is the overall map of the game, where you must explore to discover the collectible items and Rapture-related hints. In this game, you can hear footsteps as you walk through the fictional Shropshire's village of Youngton. In this game, doors can be opened, although not all of them. When you enter a building, you will find a comprehensive environment to explore. Each home is gratifyingly unique, displaying traces of the characteristics of its former inhabitants. While the environment provides some clues, the majority of the narrative is provided through the Rapture's twist on the audio log format. Aside from this, the game's landscape and atmosphere are truly beautiful and realistic. The graphics are very detailed and elegant. There are collectibles throughout the game that will reward you with achievement awards. The collectibles are pattern books, chat graffiti, microwave oven, unlockable gates of the footpath, maps, trailers, campers, caravans where you have to break into, train numbers, radios, phones, tape recorders, televisions, and computers.
Hello, my name is Trisha Sharma Mo, and today I'll be explaining the role of a sound designer and how the sound has been designed in the game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. What does a sound designer do? A sound designer is a technical creative artist who creates and controls sound and interactive media. The role of a sound designer differs from industry to industry, as well as from production to production. It may sound trite to say, but no matter the project, their primary work is with sound. Now, let's talk about the game and its musics. The game. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is a first-person adventure art video game developed by the Chinese Rome and SCE Santa Monica Studio. It was released worldwide for the PlayStation 4 on August 11, 2015. It was later released for the Microsoft Windows platforms on April 14, 2016. Sound production. The musics in the game were designed according to the sceneries. and they were composed by the person named Jessica Curry. Voices are a core component of Jessica Curry's music in this game, with the combined power of the London voices and Metro voices, as well as featured soloist Aileen Menahan Thomas, lending their talent for some stirring vocal passages. They're not singing wordless melodies or random vocalizations. However, Rapture's writer Dan Pinchbeck wrote 5 sets of lyrics for use in the score, with Curry subsequently turning them into songs. Each song strongly correlates with each of the 6 POV characters in the game. In fact, 2 of these songs open the chapters for their respective characters. The lyrics speak about their mental state or even their character arc within the game. In some cases, the lyrics are even adapted as dialogue for the characters themselves. There are a total of 28 soundtracks in the game. There are voice actors as well who voice over for different characters.
Hello, I am Vandana and I am going to discuss about the role of a game producer. Who is a game producer? A game producer is someone who is in charge of overseeing the game development. I am here to discuss about the production process of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and the topics related with it. We will look closely at how Everybody's Gone to the Rapture came into the light and the fame that it brought the company. The Chinese Room and Sony Computer Entertainment takes credit for developing and publishing the game respectively. The Chinese Room is a British video game developer company based in Brighton that is best known for exploration games. The Chinese Room became well known for 2012's Dear Esther, followed that in 2013 with Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, is equal to 2010's Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and then almost immediately began work on Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Inspiration. The writer of the game and the founder of the Chinese Room, Dan Pinchbeck, was an unpublished PhD student when Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was in the works. Summer of 2012, after Dear Esther had shipped and exploded, Dan was working out of the University of Portsmouth and he had a question. Dear Esther clearly worked, but it was linear, as is most game narrative. Especially in open world games, there were still essentially linear threads. You could explore the world openly, but then you'd lock on to a linear path and follow that. Dan wondered what would happen if you had genuinely non-linear narrative. What if the player could go anywhere at any time and the story was just waiting there to be discovered? What if the normally put forward background narrative was pushed? So the team discussed and came up with a plan. They produced a prototype to explore this, then found an opportunity to commercialize it. Prototype and team. At this point, it has attracted the attention of Andrew Grosho, the lead designer of the game, who's been in the industry for a long time. They worked with a couple of artists to create a simple prototype in CryEngine. They had an early version of the modes causing effects and a layered music system providing with the ability to have it respond to the player's movements, and most importantly, a title and a concept. The team is now just 15 people with responsibility and input shared across the team of artists and designers, which allows the vision for Everybody's Gone to the Rapture's story to be woven into every aspect of its production. They worked with no particular studio hierarchy. Anyone on the team was allowed to give suggestions and criticisms on any part of the work. Dan, along with Jessica Curry, the director and composer of the game, had a lot of discussion on the topic of the game. They wanted it to be an apocalyptic game which alongside portray the real people. And one of the things that they discussed about was getting aside from the hero-heroine complexes. In reality, if the apocalypse actually happened, the survival aspect would not be similar to how the world portrayed it to be. But what was interesting alongside this discussion of how normal people would react was about those small acts that really define us as humans. This was the time they started talking to Sony Santa Monica, a multinational video game and digital entertainment company. The team made the decision to partner with Sony as they felt they could not raise enough money for the project through crowdfunding sources or through sales of alpha versions. And after the long process, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was released for the PlayStation 4 on 11th August 2015 and for Windows on 14th April 2016. And the awards backed by the game are as follows: 12th British Academy Games Award for Best Music, Jessica Curry, and Best Performer. Writers Guild of Great Britain Award, Best Writing in a Video Game, Dan Pinchbeck. TIGA Games Industry Awards 2015, Creative UK Gameplay Award, Game Audio Network Guild Award 2016, Best Original Soundtrack Album, Best Dialogue, and Best Original Song.
Hello, this is Huda Imran, and I am playing the role of a game programmer. So what exactly gameplay programmers do is that they work closely with game designers and the art team. Their job is to build all gameplay mechanics according to the game design. It's crucial to be an avid gamer while working as a gameplay programmer. Because of this, the gamer's perspective helps a lot in understanding how things should work in the final video game. Now, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture classifies as a walking simulator game. These type of video games, rather than having a lot of action, they heavily focus on their storylines and are often paired with mystery thriller or horror genres in which players walk around trying to find clues to cue the narrative. Normally, walking around an environment, looking at or picking up objects, and reading dialogue or notes. Clearly, this type of game requires minimal programming, but sometimes uses some beautiful visuals and seems to be proficient as far as art and storytelling go. We can learn from these games in terms of creating cohesion between narrative and gameplay and advancing the art form. But it's still a video game. There needs to be some sort of hook. If you don't want combat and puzzles, you have to make the environment interesting to explore. Give the player unique ways to interact with the environment, allow them to experience it from unusual angles in unusual ways. This is what they did with the previous game, Dear Esther, to which Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is the sequel. Give them a slow movement speed and look for the next invisible trigger to activate the next piece of dialogue. Mechanics-wise, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is not that dense, it just uses 2 analog sticks and a single button. But as with any half-decent piece of fiction, you can divide this game into 2 parts, the literal and the figurative. And neither aspect of the game is immediately obvious. And not every conversation or narrative is mandatory either. There are many subplots, apart from the main plot, that are equally as interesting and immersive as the main plot. Now the game was built using CryEngine 3, which is a software development kit like Unity and Unreal Engine. It is a complete 3D game development solution that can run on multiple platforms. It's been oriented, giving initiative tools to the developer. A variety of interactive video games can be created using CryEngine, and it's one of the most beginner-friendly engines out there to learn, but it has poor documentation. Now, what makes it so different from the other engines, and how did the developers choose? Well, it has unparalleled visuals that you can see throughout the gameplay, stronger graphical capability, great terrain tool, stilted and somewhat unwieldy interface, Poor documentation, well, let's give it take, and good environment building. Now, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture makes it clear from the first frame how its 3 years of production were divided. It's a stunning PlayStation 4 game that emphasizes its pastoral aesthetics, with CryEngine tasked with rendering a charming Shropshire village. The excellent lighting and post effects of the engine are used by developer The Chinese Room to intensify the mood. One of the game's most noticeable elements, right immediately, is lighting. It's essential to creating a credible experience for this universe, and the outcomes are remarkably accurate to their real world counterpart. According to the CryEngine 3 tech demo from GDC 2015, the game's materials respond to light in accordance with real world values. Brickwork, trees, and even water utilize Crytek's real-time local reflections to accurately represent the surrounding landscape. Frosted windows are particularly excellent because light diffuses from the glass and enters various shafts, typically depending on the glazing pattern of the glass, of which there are several. Additionally, it has some incredible special effects. Making advantage of the dynamic particle system in CryEngine, each spark emits its own light that permeates the surrounding area. So a significant role is also played by atmospheric elements like billowing clouds and drifting pollen, as well as changes in the time of day for flashback scenes. All shadows are rendered in real time. It is one of the best looking PS4 games to date, and overall it's clear that a lot of thought has gone into the setting design. In the lead up to its release, Rapture drew comparisons to Fulbright's Gone Home, 2013 game in which you explore a family's waking home to reconstruct the lives that took place there. Both games use spatial storytelling to build their narrative worlds inch by inch. But the thing that varies is that Gone Home rewards the player who seeks out small details, while Rapture tends to force them to take a really close-up gaze.